This is LCC Radio, WLNZ 89.7 here in Lansing, Michigan. This is the Lansing Online News Radio Show with Bonnie Bucqueroux and Bill Castanier, who will be streaking in from the other room any moment now. It is good to see you, Bill. I hear you have a couple announcements about the Historical Society. They're so busy that I think we always have announcements about the
this month anyway, because it's the commemoration of the end of the Civil War. That could be celebrant, but we're also commemorating the assassination of Lincoln. And also, the reason we're doing that is because a Lansing man, Luther Baker, tracked down John Wilkes Booth, captured him, and of course he was killed. And then that man moved back to Lansing. But this week there are two events. I'll start with Sunday's event, which is at the Antiquarian Book and Paper Show. At the Lansing Center. It's in its 61st reiteration.
We should have had Ray on.
He called and asked, but I said we were busy.
We are, yeah.
He didn't call soon enough. So that means they're in their 30th year, a little over 30 years, but the Historical Society is unveiling a book that was put together about Luther Baker, and what it is a reissue of a speech he gave, a lecture he gave in the 1800s about the capture of John Wilkes Booth. It's never been in print, so it'll be unveiled there and be available for sale.
That is the first book in the new Historical Society imprint.
Yes, and we are going to be printing things that have not been published before or are out of print, and at one time were very popular. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Rick Brown is bringing his traveling Lincoln Assassination Museum to the Capital Area District Library. What that means is he'll exhibit 30 unique items from the 1865 era, from between April and May of '65. He's collected thousands of first impressions of newspapers and things like that from that era, so he will be exhibiting those. He's become an expert on the assassination, and on Thursday at 7 p.m. at the Capital Area District Library, he's going to give a presentation on the assassination and some of the things that happened after that, including the Lincoln funeral.
Interesting.
The train traveled through 12 U.S. cities. They had mock funerals in those cities.
Now, Mr. Mudd was here, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, yes.
Did he persuade you that the family is innocent? I've got to ask.
No.
Oh, okay. No. I guess
he selectively brought up information that sort of may have proved it, but I think Mudd was clearly guilty, and he is fortunate he didn't spend more time in prison or visit something else like the hangman's noose.
Yes.
He had known Booth. They met with Booth 2 times prior. There's evidence that he had been involved in the assassination plot. That seems like that would be enough to get you some pretty heavy prison time. He did go to prison for life, but it was commuted after 3 or 4 years. But yeah, he was definitely guilty.
So when your name is Mudd, it's justifiable?
I think so, yes, in this case. But they'll keep pitching it that he was innocent, did not know that Booth was the person there that night. That's one of the arguments that they make.
Oh, oops.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Met him twice before. They talked about kidnapping the president.
As we always tell our journalism students, look for that vested interest in the person telling the story. In this case, he wants to clear the family name, I'm sure.
Right, he does. And he lectures on it, so he has some fun with it. But his whole family's going down to the Dry Tortugas, the prison down there where Mudd was kept.
Really?
They're going down there, it would be probably tomorrow or the next day. Because the 14th was the day of the assassination.
A lot of events going to be occurring.
Right.
Good to know. Good to know. We will have those in mind. We're going to shift gears now, and we have a new addition to our lineup tonight because Jen Sygit has come in. And Jen Sygit is the local singer-songwriter that many of you know, and she has been an avid devotee of music in the area and also a strong supporter of area musician Josh Davis, formerly of Steppin' In It. He used to play every Monday night. He'd be busy loading in right about this time down at the Green Door, right not terribly far away. And he has been successful in the recent episodes on The Voice, the TV show where it's it's a different variation on the American Idol model. You have 3 judges and that sort of thing. But the rules, Jen, are so complicated. And for those of you who have been saying, I want to make sure Josh makes it to round 2, but what do I do? Jen has come armed with all of the information that you need so that you can cheat and get all of the
Yes. Well, there are legal cheats.
Yes.
to this. But really, if you're a fan of Josh and you want to get your vote out, I just want to clarify a few different methods that you can do that, and when, in fact, your vote becomes countable, because that's part of the trick.
And that's a trick, isn't it?
That's part of the trick. The trickiest thing is probably the iTunes download. If you download the single that is Josh's most recently released song on the day of his show, it counts as 10 votes for Josh. The problem with this is the song was released earlier in the day before the show even airs, and so if you vote for that song by buying it before 9:55 p.m., your vote is essentially null and void. And so that happened definitely to Josh last week, as he got up to like number 70 in the charts, and it was before voting time had even opened up. So we want to clarify that definitely to those fans out there that are trying to help and maybe jump the gun a little bit last week. Wait till 9:55 p.m.
Or buy it early, buy it often.
Yeah. Well, you can only buy it once to have it count.
Oh, you can only buy it once?
To have it count, yes, because you own it once you buy it.
Oh, I thought it would be like voting in Chicago.
So that's kind of why it's tricky. If you buy it too early, then your vote, you're done. So you can also vote by texting. That is limited to certain type of phone customer. So that's a little more limited.
When you say certain type, do you mean they had to be on a certain service?
Certain carrier. Am I allowed to say the carrier?
Sure.
It's Sprint. So if you're
Hey, I'm one of the few people dumb enough to own Sprint.
I also have Sprint.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, so if you're a Sprint customer, then you can make your vote via text for Josh. And by the way, all of these voting methods, with the exception of buying the iTunes download, you can do them up to 10 times. The reason for this is normally if you have multiple people you would like to vote for, you can cast a couple for this person and a couple for that person. However, if you're a diehard Joshua Davis fan like myself, you can cast all 10 of your votes for Joshua Davis and for each of these methods. So in total, there's actually 41 times that you can vote for him. Other votes are online on the webpage. Well, that's why it's important to know this, because who does know are all the teenagers that grew up with this stuff. So if you're
right, so they're the ones voting for the 18-year-olds.
Exactly.
Yes,
So
yes.
to make it fair a little bit, we're trying to share the ways you can get your vote out properly. So there's also the Voice app, which you have to download. It's free, and you can that is the only method that you can vote during the show with. So that is an early method of voting, although, most of the voting is open for 12 hours, so it's arguable what's the extra hour.
So if I tried to vote on Friday, I'd be locked out, but I need to be able to vote now.
Within 12 hours, so it's by noon the following day.
And if I had things like multiple emails and multiple phones.
And honestly, when there's so many people calling in and texting and stuff at the same time, the system can get bogged down. And so I generally wait a couple hours before I do my voting, but I don't want to encourage people to wait and then have them forget. So if you do want to vote and you're a forgetful person, or go to sleep, just make sure you wait for most of the voting methods until 9:55 to support Josh. And then on one more quick cheat, and then I'll maybe play a quick Josh cover tune here, is that if you have multiple email addresses, you can utilize some of these methods multiple times. And so some people call themselves super fans. They have a bunch of email addresses, and they now have really upped their ante with their voting by doing so. So
Tell him when he sees policing.com, that's me. Yes, I have so many email addresses I can't keep track of them.
Well, they don't let Josh do original tunes on the show.
I know, which I think is that's ridiculous, because that's really his strong suit, is his ability to sing his own music.
He's got many strong suits, but that is definitely one of them. And but anyway, he does have amazing music. If you've only seen him on The Voice, you can check out his original music.
In other words, each time he appears, there is a release that comes up on iTunes. He sort of negotiates with them which song he's going to record.
Yes.
And then it is an official release on iTunes.
Correct.
And that's what...
And they definitely looked at that up until the live rounds, are when the public vote comes into play, which only started last week.
Right.
So up until then, I believe the judges still weigh that information, who is doing well on iTunes sales, even though it legitimately doesn't start counting until the live rounds start and public vote counts. So
I see. But you're going to sing a song that Josh wrote.
This is an original tune of Josh's. It was co-written by another Michigan resident, Aaron. I've known them for a long time, so I know that they were roommates here in Lansing.
Aaron Allen?
Aaron Allen, yep. And this was released by Steppen in it, because he is the primary frontman and songwriter to Steppen in it as well. So anyway, this tune is called Break of Day. intuition came in and made it that way. When they don't spin songs in the minor key, is it the tune's too tough for the FCC? Hey, 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 can we just hold out till the break of day? Hey, 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 can we just hold out till the break of day? From Little Bighorn to the Rio Grande, it seems we've seen the last lemonade stand. Well, all the flea markets and the paper routes, if you can't trade in bulk, you get muscled out. Hey, 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 can we just hold out till the break of day? Well, troubled voices on the rise, thunderheads are rolling down blue skies. I know that winter's come and gone. I can feel summer coming on strong. Can we hold on to all the signs in this crooked road that point away from the day of the town stopped low? When Easy Street was just a mile away from the dark of night into the light of day. Hey, 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 can we just hold out till the break of day? Hey, 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 will you hold me close till the break of day?
Lovely, lovely. Thank you.
Well,
That was
thanks.
wonderful.
Thanks for letting me give a shout
So
out to Josh.
we want to remind everybody to vote early, vote often, vote any way you can tonight.
Vote early,
Yes.
but not earlier than 9:55.
Yes, right. But at least
But often, definitely.
yes.
Up to
And
41 times.
I know that
and more if you do the multiple email address. But
yeah. And the if he wins tonight, then he will be back on the show next Monday night, is that right? So that's every
that's
Monday
true.
night, how
And
that
there's
works?
one other thing they're adding this week to voting, which doesn't take place until the following day when they reveal who has gotten the most votes. There is a public save option now that is only available through Twitter, and that happens on Tuesday. And so there's a way that you can also save Josh in the event that he doesn't get
so
through
you-
from the public vote. And that is, there's basically, you would say vote Joshua Davis is what you
Hashtag?
say. Yeah, there's a bunch of, like, they've actually accommodated misspellings, so there's a bunch of spellings that will work.
Wow.
Yeah, like Josh and Joshua, and some misspellings of Josh also work.
It's the Amazon trick, they own everything. And so,
So,
is there a
yeah.
web page or a Facebook page where people can go to get all this information?
They're definitely, the information is at earthworkmusic.com. You can find it there. Definitely, it's at Josh's own website. I believe it's, I should have looked this up, I suppose, but it's Joshua Davis Music, I think. I should have looked it
Okay.
up. Or just joshuadavis.com.
Well, we
If
wish
you
him-
search him online, it'll be very apparent which website is his.
We wish him well, and if he wins this week, I know there's plans in the works, and people will be trying to host special
Yeah,
events for
they're-
next week, and we'll
they're-
announce some of those as they come on board.
That would be great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
This is
Jen.
wonderful.